Good morning, and I hope you had a lovely weekend. It's Monday, and welcome to Pen Vicarage on this beautiful sunny morning. Great to see you. I hope you had, as I say, hope you had a lovely weekend. Just as a quick of a flyer, if I may, this August, our wonderful choir from St Bart's Church, we're on a tour to Bristol Cathedral. And on the 20th of August, that's a Saturday, the Friends of St Bart's are organising a coach trip down to Bristol. It's basically a day out. We have a day in sunny Bristol, come and hear the choir sing even song and have a lovely day. If you'd like to come on the coach, just contact the office or contact me or contact Anne Edwards or just get a message to us one way or another and you'd be very, very welcome. And we'd love to have you. It should be a lovely day out. But that's 20th of August. If you want to come, let us know and that would be great. But we are looking at Luke's Gospel, as you know, and we are in chapter 7 now. A really lovely reading. I like this one. All about the centurion and his servant. A centurion, of course, in those days was a very important officer in the Roman army. Centurion, CENT, anything that means 100. He was to be in charge of 100 soldiers, so quite a significant officer in the Roman army. But he's got a problem, and we find out about it in this reading now. So, Luke chapter 7, I'm going to read you verses 1 to 10. After Jesus had finished all these sayings in the hearing of the people, he entered Capernaum. A centurion there had a slave whom he valued highly and who was ill and close to death. When he heard about Jesus, he sent some Jewish elders to him, asking him to come and heal his slave. When they came to Jesus, they appealed to him earnestly, saying, "He is worthy of having you do this for him, for he loves our people, and it's he who built a synagogue for us." And Jesus went with them. But when he was not far from the house, centurion sent friends to say to him, "Lord, do not trouble yourself, for I am not worthy to have you come under my roof. Therefore I did not presume to come to you, but only speak the word, and let my servant be healed. For I also am a man set under authority, with soldiers under him, and I say to one, 'Go,' and he goes, and to another, 'Come,' and he comes, and to my slave, 'Do this,' and the slave does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed at him, and turning to the crowd that followed him, he said, "I tell you, not even in Israel have I found such faith." When those who'd been sent returned to the house, they found the slave in good health. And this is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. And one thing I'm fascinated is about sort of military history and that sort of thing. There was a battle in the Second World War called the Battle of Midway. It was a large naval battle in the Pacific Ocean between the Americans and the Japanese. And what was interesting about it was that it's the first time there was a naval battle when the ships never actually saw each other. It was all done by aeroplanes and bombs and that sort of stuff. But the ships never actually saw each other from the opposing sides. And why am I saying that? Part of the military bit partly, but also because I think there are three things I want to bring out of this reading this morning. I mean, they said there's thousands of sermons in this, but I think three things in particular this. Firstly, a theme which comes through Luke's Gospel all the way through, again and again and again, as I'm sure we've picked up already, is just how wonderful Jesus is. Just how powerful he is, how loving he is, how good he is, but especially you're supposed to look at the Gospel of Luke, and Luke wants us to say, "Awesome, what a fantastic God Jesus is." So it's up to now, you see examples of Jesus healing people who are sick. In the next tomorrow's about somebody who's died, demons. He's got power over sin. He's got power over the weather. Again and again and again, you've got examples of Jesus having awesome power and having divine power, the ability to do amazing things because he's God. And I think one of the amazing things about this reading this morning is that so powerful is Jesus that he doesn't even have to be with the centurion's servant in order to heal him. That's why I said the thing about the troops never actually met. In this reading this morning, Jesus and the centurion never actually meet. Okay, but one of the things the reading is saying, quite obviously, is so powerful is Jesus that he can heal this person's servant without even going to his house. I think that's the first thing that is really kind of amazing about this. So Jesus is so amazing he can heal without even being present. That's kind of the first thing to say about this reading. I think the second thing I want to say is what is so amazing about the centurion. Well, notice, I think what Luke wants us to see, what's so amazing, is the man's faith. the centurion had real faith. And he uses the example of the fact, that you can say to a servant, go, and he goes, and come, and he comes, and so on and so on and so on. And he demonstrates here tremendous faith in Jesus. Despite who he is, he has tremendous faith. And I think Luke kind of makes this even more strongly, because the centurion actually sends two lots of delegations. He sends some Jewish people first, and then he sends some friends later when he's kind of on his way. So he actually sends two delegations to Jesus. But the first delegation, they're kind of the Jewish people, and they kind of, well, this man deserves it because he's done many wonderful things, and he's given a lot of money to the church, and he's done so on and so on, and he's been doing this, and blah, 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 blah. Just the kind of thing you often hear in church life, oh, you've got to respect so-and-so because they've done so much for the church over the years, this kind of stuff. And the first delegation goes, and they say to Jesus, oh, he built the synagogue, and he's kind to us, and blah, 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 blah. And therefore, almost, he kind of is trying to set the impression that he deserves it. The second group go with a completely different attitude because the centurion, the message this time is, I'm not worthy to have you come under my roof, but you're so great. So Jesus was going to come because of what the first people said, but Jesus was so much more impressed by the second lot. In other words, Jesus is so much more impressed by his faith and his trust and his faith in Jesus than he was by the incredible things. And I think that's such an important message. Jesus is impressed with his faith, not by his deeds. If you see what I mean, it's by his faith in Jesus. That's what ultimately impresses Jesus so much. And I think this piece of the theme again is that what God wants of us is to have faith in him. Of course, our faith will lead to works, and that's not to say this centurion's works in building so on wasn't a good thing. Of course, not saying that. But what Jesus wants of us more than anything else is to believe in him. And God wants us to have faith in him and to trust in him. And what really impresses Jesus about the centurion was not actually the great things he'd done for the synagogue. The thing that really impressed Jesus about the centurion was the fact that he believed in him. That's the second thing. So far we've got a couple of things so far. Firstly, we've got how great Jesus is, because he doesn't even need to be present in order to do a miracle. Secondly, you've got the faith of the centurion, that he trusted and believed in Jesus, and that's what was really important. The third thing I want to say, though, is at this point, you've got to kind of remember a bit who Luke was. Luke was a friend of Paul. Luke travelled around with Paul. Luke gets mentioned in Paul's writings as being one of his friends that goes around with him. And Paul's big thing was the gospel of, one of Paul's great things was that the gospel of Jesus Christ was for everybody, not just for the Jewish people. And in Luke, I think it's around about in Acts, around about chapter 9, you have a non-Christian finding faith in Jesus and being saved and being filled with the Spirit and so on. And who was the first person to become a Christian who wasn't Jewish? He was a centurion called Cornelius. And it may be a coincidence, and maybe I'm reading too into it, but it's interesting, isn't it, that here we have a centurion showing great faith, but the first person to become a Christian who wasn't Jewish in the book of Acts was also a centurion too. And I do wonder if Luke is using this story to reinforce the fact that non-Jewish people can become Christians too. That the gospel of Jesus Christ is for everybody, not just for the in-crowd, not for those who've been traditionally God's people in the past, so to speak, but the gospel of Jesus Christ is for everybody, including heathen Roman soldiers, that hated them lot out there. Actually, the gospel of Jesus Christ is for everybody. And I think that's the reason why, well, maybe significant, that it's a centurion. The fact that he's a centurion is mentioned. The fact that he's obviously not Jewish. The fact that he has so much greater faith than anything Jesus has seen in Israel. Jesus says he is absolute exemplar of good faith. I think that's interesting that's in this morning's reading. I think Luke is again reinforcing the fact, even at this early stage, that his message along with Paul, that everybody can have the gospel. Not just Jewish people, but the gospel of Jesus Christ is for everybody. So that's just three things I wanted to raise from this morning's reading. Firstly, you've got the fact that Jesus is so powerful. He's already healed lots of people and demonstrated his power over sin and sickness, things like that. Here he showed that he's so powerful. He doesn't even need to be present for a miracle to happen. Secondly, it's interesting that Jesus is so much more impressed by the faith of the man than by what he'd done. It wasn't his achievements that ultimately got the healing of his servant. It was by his faith. And thirdly, I think the fact that we've shown that it's a centurion, again, a bit like the centurion being the first person who was non-Jewish to become Christian in the book of Acts, showing that the gospel of Jesus Christ is for everyone, reinforcing Luke's and Paul's message that Jesus is for everybody, including you and me. And I say, thank God for that. God bless you.